So, welcome, folks, to our final entrepreneurship session of the day. We're going to be getting started in just about 5 minutes. If you have any questions before we get started, feel free to throw them into the session chat, which is just over there, and we can answer them before we get started. Otherwise, feel free to throw them in as we're going through the presentation. It's going to be great, but we'll get started right at 2:15 with our final entrepreneurship session of the day: how to turn an idea into an opportunity with Jayesh. Vekariya. Am I pronouncing that right? Okay. Yeah. So we'll be getting started in just a couple of minutes, folks. All right, so we got some people coming in. We've got about 2 minutes left until we are going to be getting started with our final entrepreneurship session here at Startup Slam 2020. If you've had a favorite session that you've attended today, you can put it in the chat, but I'm pretty sure you're about to get your socks knocked off by Jayesh's presentation in just a few minutes. But if you want to share some great sessions that you had, or some great entrepreneurial questions that you have for Jayesh, please feel free to throw them in the chat. And we're going to be getting started in just under 2 minutes from now. All right, so welcome everyone to our final session here in the entrepreneurship track at Startup Slam 2020. I'm so thrilled that you have made the decision to join us for the final entrepreneurship session, How to Turn an Idea into an Opportunity with Jayesh Vekariya. Am I close?
Just keep it Jayesh.
I was gonna say with Jayesh, this has been a test. This has been a test of my pronunciations today. I have had everything across the sun. Anyways, I'm so thanks for being so kind. I'm so thrilled. My name's Andrew, and I'm incredibly excited to be the moderator for this session today. It's been an incredible day of some incredible sessions, and I know because I got lucky enough to attend the Battle of the Pitch Decks a couple weeks ago, where Joni was presented. To that, you're in for quite a treat. So as we're going through the session, and you've probably gotten this by now, if you have any questions, you can feel free to throw them over into the chat, and I'll be sort of feeding them Jayesh's way, or Jayesh will address them at the end of the presentation. And aside from that, please make sure that you're following the standards that were laid out at the very start of the day. The last thing I want to say before I make an amazing introduction to an equally amazing entrepreneur is to thank Virtual CFO Solutions, who started off our presentations today, for sponsoring the entrepreneurship track. If you want to learn more about them, I don't know if you actually have an opportunity, but if you Google Virtual CFO Solutions or look around for their names and the people on the stream or on the hop-in, you should be able to find them and learn more about their amazing work. So with all that being said, now the moment you've all been waiting for, the chance to learn a little bit more about what's going on in this session today. And so I want to introduce our speaker for today, Jayesh, who's the co-founder and CEO of Joni, an entrepreneurship expert and fluent in sarcasm, which helps in the world of entrepreneurship for sure. With over 9 years of product management and startup consulting experience across 24 countries. This is a really impressive bio, by the way. He brings blue ocean venture development, startup financing, and growth strategy expertise to the table for his clients. His clients love him for his ability to fit people, planet, and profit in corporate strategy, and his unshakable commitment to helping startups optimize their strategy, turn their weaknesses into strength, and achieve their vision. So without further ado, how to turn your idea into an opportunity with Jayesh of Get Joni. Thanks so much, Jayesh. Over to you.
Thanks, Andrew, for this awesome introduction. You know you have right writers when you have this amazing introduction for you. Okay, without spending much of the time, let's get into it. The focus is around, if you have just an idea, or even if you don't have any idea, just getting started with entrepreneurship, or this is the first time you want to build something on your own, then the session is for you, kind of a deal. Just to get started and just to know you better as an audience, do you have any prior business education or something in entrepreneurship? Just say yes or no in chat room, maybe. The majority are no, so I'll keep it no, maybe let's take it that way. So second thing, have you built any startup in past? Oh, perfect. So yeah, we are all beginner here then. Then let's get into it. The thing with these hoping is, if I'm sharing my screen, I can't see myself, or I can't see this chat room or anything. So if you have any question or anything, just I'll answer after the session. Maybe I wanted to keep it interactive, but I don't think it would be possible much. Let's see how it goes.
I can jump in and I'll just if you hear my voice, Jayesh, I'll jump in when you breathe if there's any questions that come in, so you can keep it interactive.
Perfect. Thanks, Andrew.
You're welcome.
So the session is how to turn your idea into an opportunity. Just to make sure that we are setting everything right, what is this not about? If you are building a startup or idea, this is not about marketing. How do you want to get in front of like customers, how to build your startup to the next level and all those things. It's about how you just have an idea but you don't know where to get started and how to get initial funding, and after that you figure things on your own kind of. So at this stage, very early stage startup. So anyways, I hope it's not gonna be boring, but even if it's boring, I can't see you guys, so that's fine. You can sleep in background. I hope. uh, this is mostly about you as an entrepreneur, or if you are into product management or product development or innovation or strategic development kind of a thing, then you want to make sure that you understand not just your idea but the overall background of your idea and the people's expectation from the things that you are trying to build, and how can you actually attract investors or early adopters for your stuff, for your idea, and how do you test your idea without spending much of the time. uh, at the same time, it's the, in startup they always say that do things quickly, fail quickly, don't spend much time. If things doesn't work out, maybe they are not right for you or the time is not right. Most of the startups they fail because the time is not right. This is coming from a venture study that was conducted in Vancouver. So I think we are pretty close to Vancouver, and that this applies to us. Uh, you might have seen really good startups that came before Facebook with a similar concept but didn't succeed in the game, or similar video streaming websites or the applications came before YouTube but didn't succeed because the speed of the internet was slow. People didn't have the smartphones at the time. So there can be so many things that your idea is nice but the time is not good and it might fail. So just making sure the time is right, you know what you are doing, and now what next. So that's exactly what we're going to figure out now. This one thing comes up so many times when you are in the startup world. Are you an entrepreneur? uh, Many people say they are or they are not. Most of the time they say they are not because they are good in the job that they do, but they don't want to start something on their own. They have the idea but they don't understand how to turn their idea into a business, so they consider themselves not entrepreneur. The definition says that if you are someone who is taking some risk to get rewarded, is the definition of entrepreneur basically. And I think we all take some sort of risk. Even in terms of the education, we pick what actually we want to study and we invest money into that, and we anticipate that eventually after 4 years I graduate, I'll make some money, or I'll get certain career out of this education. And that's investment actually. So you are an entrepreneur if you have actually even studied for a, if you have spent even a penny on your education, that's a risk that you took. So I believe everyone is an entrepreneur, but it's just that realizing that I am not investing in things that I'm not comfortable with, and that just separates you from like the rest of the people who are just launching their companies. Uh, we come across most of the people, or the circle around us is most of the folks who are working for someone else, or who are working at certain company, or for the government or anything. So that's a job that we do, and the reward is money, right, in return. And for some folks it might be satisfaction that okay, this job gives me what I need, and I'm exceeding in my skill set, or I'm learning something new, so that can be a reward as well. The difference is when you actually bring your own idea to the table, and that gives you an extra motivation to learn something new, because it's your own idea, it's your own baby basically, right? And you want it to be as beautiful as it can be, so you'll do anything and everything for that idea. So many times people say that entrepreneurs, they are not rational and they are not logical in a sense, because most of the time when you are investing, you look at the financials of the company and past track records and the data and everything, and then you put some money into that company, which is someone else. Someone else, if you are investing in public companies, a stock market or something, you don't even know the entire team that's executing on that idea. You still believe in that company based on the financial past records and everything, or some ideas that you have heard in newspaper or through friends or family or someone, and you still invest in those uh, companies, which is investment in someone else's idea, not in your own idea, or not in your own future actually self. You might make some money, but you might lose that money, right? It's as simple as that. So why don't you just put that money in your own idea rather than putting in someone else's ability or someone else's idea? And that's what would differentiate you as an entrepreneur compared to someone else who is not an entrepreneur, I believe. Getting started with an idea is like, most of the folks, they say that, oh, I have this amazing idea that I want to build my company upon. The thing is, we all love our own, because it's my idea, I would love it. uh, that doesn't mean the idea is actually good and it's gonna make me money or people gonna love it, or it would get other people equally excited about to join you to build a company upon that idea, which is very important. It's not going to be one man show. You need other folks to join you to help you build that idea. The one thing that you want to do is build the list of ideas that you have, so that you are not just focused on one thing. Anyways, you don't have anything to lose. It's just an idea. It's very early stage. You haven't developed anything. You haven't put any money into it. So without losing money on one thing, just make sure that you have alternatives. When I was starting Johnny, what I did is I did MBA in entrepreneurship at UWIC, and as a part of my entrepreneurship project, I wanted to work on something that actually can create impact, and the impact should be immediate, right? So that was my idea, and if you know that in percentage or scenario ratio, I would say making incremental impact from 100 to 110 is just a 10% growth. But if you figure out something which is at 0 level or 1 level, and making an impact from 0 to 1 is 100% growth, and 1 to 2 is again 50% growth. So that's just my brain works. That's how I guess that figuring out industries that are actually like at the rock bottom or are the dinosaur, you haven't seen much of the innovation, so you can do a little bit of a different thing or the same thing differently, and would make such a huge difference in the people that you are actually targeting. So you want those people that you are targeting to be at the center of your idea all the time. And it's a very simple list. If you look at this table that I have built, the idea can be like, what is the idea, who is this idea for, and how the idea works, and why those people would care about your idea, or why would it make a difference in their life, right? It's a very basic template, I think. uh, Come up with 5 or 7 or 10 or 15 ideas. I don't think you will come up with more than 15 on your own. One more thing that you want to do is make sure that idea is current, uh, the timing is right. How do you make sure that because you're not alone, basically, right? There are 7 billion people doing something. So if you see that other folks are still doing something on this idea, there would probably at least 1,000 other folks that you will find doing similar thing or something in this area. And that would give you an idea that, okay, there are other companies that are coming out in this area, or in last 3 years, investors have invested in these companies through, or you can do some sort of little bit of research on crowdfunding websites. Oh, are customers actually interested in these kind of ideas? Are they investing in these ideas? Are people buying these products, or are people interested in these services? And that can be just a little bit of secondary research and would give you like really good data about, oh, this idea is current or it's backdated. And many times ideas come out of politics or uncertain timing, like COVID. So many industries are coming out of in COVID, right? You can see the Zoom and all these stocks, they just skyrocketed. uh, E-commerce has developed around double compared to what it has developed in last 15 years. That was the kind of comparison. So in 3 months, the growth of e-commerce is similar to the growth of e-commerce pre-COVID in last 15 years. So that's the kind of uncertain periods that actually brings to startup world. uh, so I think uncertain times are really good if you are an entrepreneur, because it can actually foster or can give your idea a wing. When I launched Johnny, I we launched getjohnny.com on March 12th, just before the pandemic started. We didn't know we would enter into pandemic. We just got the office lease and everything, but it turned out to be a good time for a e-commerce company and a bad time for an early stage startup company, because if you are in e-commerce, people are not now asking you why would I buy pediatric products online. Now they're asking how I can buy this product online. So which is a better problem and easier problem to solve compared to why. And at the same time, meeting new investors, which is like a routine. Victoria is such a small community. If you are raising capital, you go out, you meet investors for a coffee or spend at least 1 or 2 hours, get some references. People ask about your past and everything. They analyze your behavior and stuff, and then they meet your team and everything, and then they invest probably, right? Because of COVID, you can't do any of those things. So it's difficult to raise capital, but it's good for business. But it's bad for people that you really care about. So it's kind of a mixed timing. But I think if your idea is right, uncertain times actually can really boost your value proposition to your customers that you're targeting. So I would say just build the repository of your ideas and do your secondary research. And you will eliminate, out of, if you come up with 10 ideas, you can easily eliminate at least 5 or 7 ideas from the time perspective itself. Oh, time is not right now. People don't care, or people care, or and so that you don't even have to spend time or money on those ideas. Now, rest of the ideas, I'll take you through this simple chart that would give you an idea like whether your idea is really worth investing time and money. Most of the times entrepreneurs think of the money is a big factor, but in reality it's the time. It's not just the money, right? Because for angel investors, they would be probably giving you 0.1% of their wealth, or not even 0.1% of their wealth. You will be losing at least 1 or 2 years on a wrong idea out of the 70 or 80 years of your life expectancy. So you definitely don't want to waste time on wrong ideas. So make sure that you are very rigorous when eliminating ideas. Don't hesitate to eliminate anything that you're not passionate about or you don't think that the timing is right. Just leave them. Don't waste your time on those things. And now, once you know that the ideas are good, now you have 2 or 3 ideas. I don't know what those ideas are, but now make sure that you pass them through a test. Let's go through the test. How do you validate the time idea is good? So you want to focus on two things. One is the viability of the idea, and the second is the durability of the idea. What I mean from the viability is your idea actually something that can make money or can make profit? Is it self-sustaining? That's viability. And durability is something that, oh, it can make money, but for how long? For a month, for a year, for 5 years, for 50 years? So that's something you call durability. So if you have an idea that's gonna make money like $100,000 on one bet, it's a gamble, right? It's not durable. It's viable. You might make money, but it's just one time thing. So it's not something that you can build a business upon for yourself. You can bet on those things. And sometimes you would love something so good and you want to do it again and again and again for rest of your life. That's durable, but would it make money? If not, then it's not a business idea basically. Based on these based on these two factors, we can actually eliminate few of the ideas, and let's see where your ideas actually can fall upon. If it's not durable, if it's not viable, then it's dead end. Just eliminate right there. Done. One idea is gone. If it is durable, you can keep doing it for rest of your life, but it's not gonna make you money. Then it's a hobby. It's not negative to keep investing in your hobby because you still enjoy that, right? And you might learn something from that hobby that eventually you will figure out how to build a revenue model around this hobby. How can I market this? So many ideas have actually came out of hobby, and they eventually turn profitable. I think even Facebook and similar companies didn't know how to monetize their business model. I recently made a virtual medical care startup in Vancouver. Those guys have invested around $7 million so far, and they still don't know how they're gonna monetize it. But people are loving it. People are using it. Government is sponsoring them somehow. So eventually they'll figure out how they're gonna monetize that thing. But sometimes it's okay if it's very durable. Just it takes time to figuring out like whether it's a viable business. So don't just eliminate it right there. But if you think that money is a crucial part for your life right now at what stage you are, not everybody is equally wealthy, and some folks need money immediately. Some folks have their family inheritance or whatever, and they don't really care about money right now. So based on situation, if it is just hobby, you might want to eliminate if you need money right now. But in that case, you have few more ideas that are gone. Project, we know that projects are basically change management. If you this is the current environment, you are entering into different environment, or you want to turn this current climate into different climate, that's a project. Once you turn to the new climate, it's done, right? It's one time thing. So you can make a money for a very short period, like 3 months or 6 months on certain thing. That's a project. That's not a long term idea, but sometimes even they can be really good. I think so many projects actually came out of coronavirus pandemic. They are not long term businesses, but they are really good projects. Similar, like I have seen those face mask shields, like transparent. They are not long term ideas. I don't think, at least they might be, but they are all projects. They are viable till the COVID virus fear is in people, right? They're gonna use it. Once it's gone, people are not gonna use it. So you don't want to heavily invest on that idea, uh, so that you don't lose much. Just make sure that you are investing enough to make it viable for short period, and then you can sell it outside or like make profit within that time frame of 2 or 3 months. After that, the ideas can be job. So if it is little bit more durable and it still makes money, it's a job. Like you do it for 2 3 years, and then for an example, I started as a business development manager for a small company in a startup in India. I moved into executive position for a Fortune 500 company, and then I moved to research analyst here in Canada. And so these are all jobs. These are not ideas that are actually breakthrough or like long vision mission kind of a deal. So if you are not that wealthy or something, you still need money to support your own idea or original ideas. You might want to take a job that would just give you money as a reward, or a job that you are actually good at and you can actually bring your idea to life at that company or at that job, right? And just hand over your ideas to someone else who is better fit to actually execute upon your ideas. uh, Something that's actually really durable and really viable, which is like can make you a consistent profit and is would be sustainable for at least 7 or 10 or 15 years. That's kind of a niche leader. I wouldn't waste much of time on niche leader. It's just you have figured out a perfect target market, a perfect consumer. There is this bunch of group people who are interested in your product for next 15 years or 20 years. That group is not huge, but they really need that service. So that's a niche leader. You focus, you keep serving those customers, and you have your business for long run. You can't grow beyond that point because it's not a universal need, or there is not a huge demand for that idea. Let's say it might be like 10,000 folks or 5,000, sometimes even 200 folks if it's B2B, but and it gives you around $1 million for rest of your life, and that's your happy life. That's the kind of niche leader. And most of the companies or the ideas that I have seen, they start as a like job or a niche leader, and eventually they move into a generator, which is kind of like, I think Slack founder, he is a UV graduate, Stuart Butterfield. He started this project as a game or something, and then he turned this into a software, a communication software, right? And so the game wasn't that he initially built wasn't that game changing idea, but that turned into a software that was like universal. So you might come up with something that's niche leader, only few people are playing or using your application for, and then you figure out, oh, I can do something different. Like Facebook has now uh, market space and stuff like that, or like they are using it for advertisement, which was not the initial idea that they can use it for advertisement as well, right? So eventually you start figuring out different things that you can do with the same idea. When I came up with this idea at Johnny, the goal was very simple. I knew this company that had a patent on this product, which was amazing product. Uh, we basically started with menstrual hygiene pads, uh, which are made of organic bamboo. We started with pads. I went to China, met that supplier, built a relationship. They had the patent, so I needed a Canada-wide right so that I can serve this Canadian market, right? And without being feared by the rest of the competition, because whenever you bring something new or different, everybody wants to grab a market immediately, kind of a deal, especially in retail environment. So wanted to make sure that I'm safe by investing my money and time into this project. So just went there, started the project with this pets, but as soon as we entered in this industry, I started realizing the spade is not the long term or not the only solution that we can depend upon, or this supplier is not the only person that we can depend upon, right? So we start figuring out like, okay, how do we innovate from here? What are the other products that we can build, or how can I serve this customer better? And you start coming up with other ideas, and which can actually move your initial project from niche leader to generator. And powerhouse is normally these investors, they call it unicorn idea, right? Which is like once in 100,000 ideas you might come up with something very unique, which is powerhouse. It's rare that somebody actually comes up with power idea or a powerhouse idea. The reason is people think that powerhouse ideas are the ideas that are game changer from day one, but that's not reality. uh, Jeff Bezos started as a niche leader. His idea was to sell books to book reader online, right? And which is very small niche. And slowly it moves into that direction. So don't worry about those powerhouse ideas, or don't care about like, oh, I want to be the next Jeff Bezos or like whatever. Just focus on your niche and keep serving, and you might come up with the better ideas. From this chart, at least you know if your idea doesn't fall on any of those top lines, it's a not long-term business idea. If either it's a dead end or it's a project. So don't think much about those kind of ideas. You can kill them immediately if you want to, or if you find like, oh, I can make a really good money in a small period of time on this project, just do it as a project. You don't have to worry about, like, don't waste time if you don't have the capacity to build that whole idea. Once you have figured out that, okay, your idea now falls in one of these categories, job, niche leader, or generator, or whatever, powerhouse, or any of these categories, you might want to invest more on those ideas. But how do you actually invest? Where do you get started? To move into that direction, let's focus on, this is my theory. I am 10% ready. What should I do next? It's kind of like, I have idea, I don't have money, I don't have team, I don't know people who can help me execute or anything. Now what should I do? I have hardly $500 in my pocket, but I really want to work on this idea. In past, the way things I have done, and I have seen that my some of my clients doing, is if you really believe in your idea, what you have, your 100% is somebody else's 5% or whatever, but your 500 is nothing for so many folks, but it's a lot if you really spend it well on your secondary research and getting your project ready so that people can actually give you money to invest and build a company around that idea. What do I want to do is, I make sure that I figure out a couple of other pieces of the puzzle that would actually get people excited. You don't have to do all these things for yourself. When, if you know anything about me, this is my personal story. I actually studied at a public school in India, in a slum area, and then from there I graduated, and I'm the first guy in my family who actually went to college to graduate with a pharmacy degree. And I'm the first one in my family, not just family, in my whole community that I come from, who has master's degree. The, every time I was applying for this college or anything, I didn't have the full money that I would need. What I used to do is, I remember when I applied for my master's degree, I had around $400 or something, which is equivalent to 20,000 rupees Indian currency. I paid that money for my IELTS exam and booked my visa application and everything for higher education. And as soon as I cleared my IELTS and I had whatever, 20,000 might, or like $400 might be a very small amount for so many folks, but that was a lot for me and my family at the time, right? So for them, the option were two. One, either lose that $400, or now to proceed and get the rest of the money so that we can accomplish what we actually started. And losing that small amount, which is like for rest of the folks is nothing, but for us it was a big deal. So we immediately started figuring out, like, okay, here is the charity that I can reach out to, or here is the scholarship that I can apply to. Here are the folks who can actually give me some money or loan me some money for a time being. And that's how we actually figured out around 15,000 euros to get my higher education from France. Uh, so I think all you need is like your 100%, which might be very small or a little, but at that point you have something that you can actually lose in the game. Otherwise, if you haven't invested, you don't have a motivation or aspiration to lose or like do things, right? So make sure that you are invested in the game, even if it is a small way or whatever. It's not gonna be big anyways. So get invested, and that's how you get started, I guess. 5% or 10% of whatever you have. And once you have, then you start figuring out. You don't have to figure things out on your own. Reach out to your family, friends, or mentors. If you don't have mentors, go to your university, talk to innovation center, which is amazing place at UVic. All universities now have incubators, or your local business center, just commerce center or something, right? Reach out to those folks and talk about your ideas, what or whatever you have done. And one thing that I have learned is whenever you ask for advice, you end up getting money, and whenever you ask for money, you end up getting advice. So it's good start that you have put some money on your own idea, and now you're asking for advice so that you want to grow. But how do you grow that idea? Now, one thing is, you make sure that you want to product the product or the idea, right? You want to protect your idea, so that you feel safe about it, and you can discuss it with other folks, right? Make sure that there is some certain of protection or innovation or whatever, right? You have an innovative idea, there is some IP around it or patent file or whatever it is required. Go get something done around it so you are safe. And if you don't have IP or patent or anything, then you don't have to worry about it. Just make sure that people actually love that product or idea. How do you know that people gonna love your idea or the product? Go talk to people. As simple as that. Uh, it's easier being said than done, but that's the one right step that you will take very early. And you don't want to do this small focus group or anything. Just go to that natural. If, for example, if you're launching a CPG product or a product that you're gonna put at any grocery store or any shelf of the grocery store, right? Go to grocery store, see how people are buying those things, talk to those folks, at least one person a day, like for 5 or 6 days, do the repeat, and you will find a behavior or something that actually matches with your product, and you will know that, oh, your product gonna fit or not. Are people going to buy your product or not? If they're going to buy, where you should put, which grocery store to put. Is it the Walmart product or is it Whole Food product, right? So figuring out your product is the first step or the idea. And the second step is the market. When you are targeting a market, you make sure that the market is adequate size. What I mean by adequate size, if your product is just $5, you want to make sure that there are at least 100,000 people that gonna buy your product, and that would make you $500,000 in the end of the year, right? If you have a team of 6 people working for you, you barely can even pay them with that kind of thing. So, but if your product is worth $20,000 per consumer, then you can have only 5,000 or something like that. So make sure that as per your product price or whatever, the market is adequately sized so that you're not wasting time for a small market that actually cares about the small price. $5 product for 50 people, it's not worth. So once these two things are there, you know that there is enough market in your neighborhood or in your own country before even moving to different country. If it is online or a software that you can easily scale, then you don't have to worry about country, but make sure even globally you have enough market. Once you figure out the market, the industry that you are entering into, your idea is probably belongs to some industry, right? It can be medical device, it can be e-commerce or software or whatever. The industry is known or lucrative in the local angel environment. Otherwise, it's real investment from the folks. The reason is, for example, when we started Johnny, we were reaching out to folks to get investment, and but the thing is, we are the first company on island in this segment. There is no other periodical company that local angel investors have invested. So it's really tough to convince them or to discuss this whole idea because they have never heard of this thing, right? And they know the product, but they don't know the background or the complete picture of the product or industry. So it's a tough call. Make sure industry is attractive and people know of that industry where you are actually asking for money. Once you know these three things, you want to make sure that you are the right person to actually execute on this idea, or if you are not the right person, at least you have someone in your team who can actually execute this idea. In my case, I'm a male. I am not white. Sorry, folks, and I'm not rich. I don't know Canadian culture because I've been here for 3 years now. So starting a period company in Canada where most of the consumers are white women is a tough call. So, and most of my investors would be also from the same segment because they would understand the product, right? So, the next step would be for me is to find a co-founder or person who actually belongs to this group and can actually easily get involved in this consumer segment or the investors. So that's how I brought my co-founder Linda on board. She is amazing. She is woman. She is Canadian. She falls into that segment who actually uses the product and she knows the product. Uh, and she knows investors because she is Canadian and she has launched a couple of companies in past. So she has the credibility, right? So bring that credibility in the local environment so that local investors, they know the who they are investing into, and if the person is already credible, they know that oh, the person is credible, she or he has done things in past, we can trust her or his experience. And now because she or he is into this idea, the idea must be good as well. So initially it's just the idea and the joke, horse and a jockey game, right? So the idea is good and the people behind the idea are good, so you can just give some money or they can trust a bit more. Instead of I on my own going out and asking for money would be really difficult to get any investment from the folks. Last but not least is money. Because you are asking for money, you should be good with money. When I say you should be good with money, you should at least know a little bit of finance. You don't have to be 100% awesome with numbers or anything, but at least should know how the revenue works, what's the profit, what's the EBITDA, and kind of stuff. You can do just little bit of YouTube videos and stuff about finance, and you can still figure this out. Now you have the idea. You know what are the next 5 things that you really should focus on. It's a product, people, money, industry, and the market. Out of these 5 things, now you focus on like, okay, I have this product, I want to test in the market, people love it or not. You come up with some hypothesis. The hypothesis statements can be very simple. I believe this is accurate, and that's why I'm investing my money into this, or like I'm spending my time into this idea. But to make sure that what you are doing is right, just come up with some ideas or like hypotheses that, okay, my idea is correct. If this is true if I do this, and the outcome will be this. So if all those check marks are actually, if you can, yeah, if you can check mark all those boxes, then your hypothesis is correct and you can move forward. If not, then go back, look at your list of ideas that you have, or do more research on different ideas and come up with new ideas. But make sure that initially the list that you build, that idea repository, keep adding new ideas to that repository. It's not end of the world that you have already started working on this one thing, so you can't go back to that. That's actually kind of a foolish thing that somebody would do, to not actually keep building the list of the ideas or the innovation or stuff around it. Make sure that you have something else to fall upon if this thing doesn't work out, and the 90% chances are there that the thing wouldn't work out. Any startup fails 3 times before it actually makes it. So be prepared. You don't have to worry about it because ideas, you will, your company might fail. It doesn't mean that you are not growing or progressing. Now you have learned a lot why your company failed, or what went wrong in the first one so that you can do right in the next one. And it's kind of a market, right? Because of pandemic, so many companies actually failed. One third wouldn't even be able to recover. At the same time, so many companies actually succeeded. uh, so basically what it says is so many ideas failed and so many ideas thrived during this situation. The ideas that failed, now they would realize what they did wrong or anything, and they can actually match with the latest innovation. So many retailers or small businesses, they immediately jumped on e-commerce, which they wouldn't have done. So that's the thing, right? You keep up with the trend. If your idea fails, it doesn't mean that it's you have done something wrong. Sometimes the timing can be a really bad situation. So just move on, bring the next idea to the market, and don't repeat the same mistakes that you have repeated in the first phase. Mm, this is interesting. In start for Johnny, I actually have invested around $15,000 to start with, and then the rest of the money comes from someone else, right? So how do you get that initial money? Not everybody is born rich or have the family to support that can support them. And if you have, that's good for you. But if not, then you are probably looking for money from outside. Even if you have family money, you should still look money from someone else, just because it's kind of a validation point that actually your idea is worth something, because your family would support no matter what. Like sometimes it's just like, oh, I know you're doing something shitty, but I know you, so there you go, play with it. So it's good that you actually bring money from outside instead of just from friends and family. But be careful because it involves two things: one, people, and money. I don't know whether you know this, or let me just ask this question. Uh, have you, is there anyone in your family can actually support for your startup idea or something? If you come up with an idea, just say yes or no in the chat box. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Two no, 2 years. So 50-50. Uh, the reason I asked is it's called a full money for a reason. They just believe in you, not in your product or your idea or anything. They're not strategic partner with you. So make sure that you're getting a very little money from them. Even if you get it, it shouldn't be even 5% of what it takes to build your idea. If you need around $100,000, make sure you just get $5,000 for them just to get started. Don't take too much money from them. Otherwise it's just skewed data, which would prove most of your validations wrong and wouldn't help you. I want an investor who can actually help me build some connections, or can bring someone who can help me build this idea, right? And family members and friends are mostly not those people. If they are, good for you. So full money is you just get a very small portion, and then you move on to the small money, which I call the angels. You might already know this structure, that okay, you get money from your friends and family, then you get money from the angel investors, and then you get money from the venture capitals, right? This is a very typical route. You don't have to take this route. uh, the reason is now the bootstrapping and even consumer support has been growing so quickly. You don't even have to depend on venture capitals or angel investors sometime. But I think angel investors, till then it's good, because you know that people can actually put money on you and your idea even before you don't have the product. So I didn't have the product when we raised $150,000 in the pre-seed money round. It was just I and Linda, and we prepared we did few things right that actually got us that money. One, I knew that I wasn't that credible person that would people actually back in Canada because I don't have that long history in Canada. So bringing that right partner who has some credibility is the one step that got closer to investors. Before bringing Linda, I was actually talking with so many angel investor networks here in town. And when somebody says no, it doesn't mean that they don't want to give you money. It's just that something is missing that they are not comfortable with. So just ask that person, like, hey, what would I do that would get you back to invest in my company? Just don't leave them immediately. If you are pitching someone and it comes to last point, like, hey, I'm asking for $110,000 for my idea, probability is high that they would say no because 98% of the investors they say no. Just ask them why no. Second thing, once you get the feedback, act on that feedback immediately. That would get you closer to those investors, and at the same time it would build your credibility that you can execute on the idea so quickly and you are willing to take feedback.
Hey, Jayesh, just a heads up, we got about 10 minutes left in the session.
Okay, let's finish quickly. The final stage is big money. We don't care about the venture capital and everything right now because you are so early stage. One thing that when you are taking money, you should understand that the people that you are taking money from, what are their motives behind, or what are they actually interested in? Is it your idea, or is it you, or what they are actually interested in? So make sure that you are actually bringing right people to the team as an investor as well. We learned this lesson a hard way. We got money from someone who actually believed in our idea but wasn't an accredited investor. Make sure the investor is accredited or friend and family. That's the one step. If the person is not accredited, don't take the money. That's a high no-no. Even if you are like in the worst position right now, just don't take the money. What happened is the person actually believed in idea, wasn't accredited, reach out to us that, hey, I'm interested, want to give you money and love what you guys are doing. And eventually the person stopped believing in our idea and thought that we were doing something different than what she expected or he expected. And the person actually came after us and was like, I want my money back because I'm not an accredited investor. You took my money. You should know your rights. How can you take over my money? You persuaded us to invest in your idea. I want 5% interest on my money and my money back. And on top of that, wherever I helped you, I want some extra money for that service, which was a shitty position to be in. We could have avoided it by not taking money from the person who is not accredited. So if the person is not accredited, just don't take the money unless you know the person so well and is your friend or family. And don't take money from people who don't believe in you as well and just believes in your idea. Probably they are just interested in short-term gain from your idea and not in your long-term growth, which is not a right fit. So it's really, really important that you bring right money from right people. Understand the money, yes. This is interesting. When you are preparing your financial forecast and all those things, I won't go in deep into those things. It is really important that you highlight the hypothesis behind those forecasts, and it's not for you to show them that, oh, your idea is so great, can make millions and trillions of dollars for those guys who are investing in your companies. It's just for the sake that you understand the financials and you understand the money, and for that reason most investors they ask for the financial forecast because they are giving you money and they want to make sure that you understand how to manage money. So even if your forecast is wrong or it's not 100% right or anything, don't worry about that, don't stress about it, just build a financial forecast in a right way. And most of the time, keep your stakeholders informed, whatever you are doing. It's not about just keeping them happy or anything. Even if it's bad news or anything, just inform them. Don't create false hope when you're creating this, turning your idea into opportunity or whatever. Which means if you think that you're gonna make this as you are building a small business, just tell them it's a small business. Don't tell them that it's a unicorn that you are building. When it turns into unicorn, you can, but don't do that before that. And every time you make an action or something which is a negative or something, don't just immediately jump on conclusion, or don't just tell them that, hey, we did this and this thing didn't work out. Just give them the complete background so that they understand that why you did what you did. It gives a better reputation and credibility in long run. Even if your company fails, they would still love to invest in you again because you're clear about what you're doing and you're providing clear hypotheses. Last but not least, don't stop experimenting. And no, you're not weird. The ideas are weird. So many times you will hear, because you are experimenting something new, that they will call weird things, or like, it's idiot or stupid or good or bad or anything. Just keep trying. Uh, Thank you for listening me. Wow, spent 1 hour.
That's amazing, Jayesh. Thank you so much for an awesome conversation. We got some questions. We got questions coming in. We got about 5 minutes, so there might not be a huge amount of room for other questions. So if you have one, make sure to get it in now. But I'm not sure if you can see that question from Kenzie in the chat, Jayesh.
Yeah, it says, how do you recommend we find groups of people to test our ideas, prototypes, etc.? What size of group should we have for feedback? Smaller groups, say. First of all, I am not in favor of the small group or anything. Just go to those people in the natural environment. If it is like you are building an application that people are gonna use at the evening while sitting with the family, just make sure you have some friend or someone who does those kind of activities. Go to them, give them an application, and see how they use that application in evening while having tea. And that would be the best thing. Otherwise, what happens is, like, if I bring you on the table and I start asking you as a, like, oh, what do you think of this? You immediately put a shoes of like expert, and you feel as an expert, like, okay, now I'm giving you advice, like what I want, what should you do, instead of giving your actual feedback about the product. So don't do that. Immediately prototype testing on the like group activity or anything. Reach out to them in their natural environment. Do it with the 5 to 6 people. That should be enough. Statistically speaking, 35 is the best number because you have 95% accurate data. After 35, it's just 5% difference. So 35 is a good number.
Awesome. And then I'm not sure if you saw that that question from Brian on there, but just are people able to add you on LinkedIn if they're interested in having more of a conversation with you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
There is one more question from Dave. How did you connect with your business partner? Yeah, Linda was Linda was COO with Abigo, and I was reaching out to someone for investment, and the person didn't know about the segment, and so he said, if my sister and her friend would invest in this company, then I would invest in your company. And okay, I was like, okay, connect me with the person. I went to see Linda. She asked right questions and everything. She was expecting a woman to show up, but I showed up, and we started talking, and she was perfect candidate. And so I just asked her, like, hey, I don't want the money, but it would be great if you can just come in as a co-founder. And after some due diligence, she actually jumped in, and that's how I found my co-founder.
Awesome. So just a last thing before we kind of wrap things up. If people are looking to find out more information on Joni, where can they go to find out more information on the company that you're working with right now?
Getjoni.com. That's our website. If you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Jayesh Vekariya.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Jayesh. That was amazing. And like so many, this is what entrepreneurship at Startup Slam is all about. Like, I think Martel said it perfectly. Learn tons, great sensible advice. see you next year at Startup Slam. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending this session today. Thanks again, Jayesh, for that amazing advice. I hope that everybody had a great time at Startup Slam this year. Huge shout out to Virtual CFO again. A massive shout out to the Dispatch team as well for making this event happen every year, to Alana and Ashley and the whole team, and all of you for attending in this virtual format. You are all amazing. Hopefully you learned something this year, and looking forward to seeing your startups pop up around Victoria and beyond. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next year.